Scotchy Bourbon boys, raising some hell and making some noise. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon boys. We're here to have fun and we hope you enjoy. We're here to have fun.
But I'm going to go live on Facebook and then
don't we have somebody else like Xavier or Super Nash or something?
well, I started off, I figured Roxy, I'd give you Roxy. This is Roxy's debut back after her first
return.
podcast. Yes, and
The return, that should be like a big
so
No, that is a big deal. I saw that.
so Xavier wanted to come on, but he threw his back out, right?
I saw that.
And so I told him his job is to, when we go live on Facebook, his job is to share it and do everything. So we're gonna. All right, so
that's awesome.
So it's gonna get we're recording, but it's gonna get a little weird because I gotta go from. It's gonna call up Facebook. Hold on.
Do I need to do anything?
Nope, you just stay there, and then all right. I gotta enter a quick.
We get music or anything fun?
Oh, it's
It's
the
down
wrong.
here. Yeah.
Well, we'll start when we start it. I'll have it, but this is just. Did you? Does it say Kentucky?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Is that it? Okay, that's good. Oh, all right. Hold on. We're going live. So when it goes live, I gotta.
I already did this. Got it.
Okay. We're almost there.
Should I put pants on?
All right.
Yeah. Well, then I would have to put them on then.
We're almost there. All right. So I'm doubling up here. So I go.
Should I put pants on?
All right.
I'm just trying to mess with Jeffrey. He's trying to figure it out.
Okay, get off of that. And then go back to Zoom. And we're up and we're live. So everybody's live on Facebook. And this is really cool because I finally figured this out so that I don't have something recording a screen. What you see right here on the Zoom is what's on Facebook. So hold on. I actually now don't have to use my other. So I got two phones going at the same time.
Is this your first time doing this?
Second, we did YouTube live on Tuesday, which actually worked. So I figured I did a test today to make sure this.
Man, that is a lot of moving parts. I'm used to sitting on my couch just joining in on the Facebook Live piece.
Yeah, when you're doing that, but right now you're part of it, and
that's impressive.
And then when I come up here, I mean, if you look at it on Facebook Live, I just got to share it. Hold on. Just so give me a couple seconds to do. Bill Verna says, hi, Randy.
Hey, Bill. Well, that's Xavier.
Yes, it's Xavier. So Xavier is.
So is he not signed? Is he signed on as Bill or as Xavier?
Well, he's
he's
Bill.
Bill
He's
Verna.
Bill. He doesn't. I don't think he even has a Xavier account. All right. So let me do.
It's Xavier, like Z, right? I mean, people in Bardstown call that main street Xavier. It's Xavier, just like Z.
Yes, I agree with that. But it is his bar. I mean, it says Xavier's bar, right?
No, I know, but you're pulling the Wisconsin Xavier pronunciation. I know you.
Yeah, we had a fight. I said peanut butter, and I was being told that it's peanut butter, and we were fighting about it on the last podcast.
But it's peanut butter in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's peanut.
Life's too short for that.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it? Or it's a lot of fun when you're drinking. All right. Oh God, it's real easy to share. It's just that I have 150 groups to share to get this. It's been
we're already 20 minutes into the 20 minutes that I said I had.
I was going to remind you of that, but and
I'm going quick.
And what time is the one coming home?
At 5 to 9, I told him,
Okay.
and so it's good. We're almost there.
The anticipation is killing me.
Saving
Better
it.
start drinking.
Yeah, definitely. What you got? What you're drinking? Tell everybody what you're drinking, Randy.
I am drinking our Knob Creek 120.
Isn't that what I'm drinking?
Yes,
I think I think you've got the barbecue challenge bottle.
Is that what this is?
No, it's Knob Creek 120.
It's one.
But that comes from the Bardstown, that liquor store as you go out.
I've never heard of it.
Bring my
That was
glass
their-
All
up.
I know is Justin's House of Bourbon in Louisville and Lexington. But this
Regardless,
Can you read it? It says it right here,
Where does it say?
right there. It says what it is.
it doesn't matter. This is the real shizness right here.
Yeah, Bardstown Wine and Spirits. That's their
That's
pick.
their pick.
Never heard of them.
Bardstown Wine and Spirits.
Yeah, but
Never heard of them.
But we've heard of Justin's House of
But
Bourbon.
it's still a little creepy that's what.
It's not creepy. He told me what he was drinking and I pulled it out.
Okay.
Here, but I've got it.
In a Scotchy Bourbon Boys Glencairn.
You see what I got here? It's not going to get open, but look at that.
That's last year's.
Oh yeah, it is. It's the first barrel pick I ever did.
Yeah, buddy.
Spider-Man in there.
I'm bringing it with me so that Freddie can sign it because that was a great pick, wasn't it?
Here it is.
I
Yeah,
love that pick.
yet to be opened.
Yeah, that was, and what a cool day too. Up in the office,
Oh yeah.
it was awesome.
I would agree with you. And then when we did our pick, our first ever Scotchy Bourbon Boys pick, this year, and it was the Knob Creek 120. And the reason why it sold so well is there's so many people last year that think that Knob Creek pick was the best pick.
Yeah,
There's some people that, rip on me for it, but
rip on you or me.
But I'm getting, you know how you get with the festival? I'm getting big enough where people are being mean to me now. That's just like,
Wait, people are being mean to you and people are impersonating.
You're
you.
public enemy number 3 then.
Yeah.
yeah,
People are impersonating.
We named
and making fun of
one
you.
of the barrel picks. We did a single barrel at Rebel at Lux Row,
yeah.
and we named it public enemy number 1. And I found out later, after we're already heading back to back home, that they named it that for me because they knew what I went through last year.
Ah, how sweet.
Kate Price, Anthony. Okay, Kate is watching too. So I can.
Oh no,
All right. So
Kate is sitting. Double O Kate is sitting in the hotel with the boys waiting on a pizza. So it's a slow night at Cedar Point.
okay, so what we're gonna do is do what we normally do, start the actual podcast, and there's gonna be a 30-second delay starting right now, and then we'll go into.
Dant Crossing, Gethsemane, Kentucky. Timeless hospitality that stirs the spirit. Dant Crossing is a one-of-a-kind destination for unforgettable weddings, memorable corporate events, day trips, and weekend getaways. The pastoral campus is anchored by Log Still Distillery and includes an amphitheater that seats 2,000, a 12-acre lake for fishing, and unique lodging options, creating an immersive experience that's rooted in the community and culture of our little slice of Kentucky. More attractions will open soon at Dant Crossing, including our 21,000 square foot distillery, which we will have the ability to produce 15,000 barrels of spirit each year, a network of wooded walking trails, fully functional private train depot, farm-to-table restaurant, and the Legacy, a premier wedding and events venue. Whether you're looking to host an event, book a stay, or reserve a tasting, we're ready to welcome you. Learn more at dantcrossing.com.
This is Alan Bishop, head alchemist at Spirits of French Lick. Be on the lookout for a brand new bottled and bond Solomon Scott rye whiskey. Made from a mash composed of 65% rye, 35% corn, and 5% victory malt. This 5-year-old 100 proof rye whiskey is a throwback to early 1800s style rye whiskeys of the Ohio Valley. Named after the legendary Daisy Spring Mill distillery owner turned moonshiner Solomon Scott of Paoli, Indiana. Remember, drink responsibly and never drink and drive.
That is Kenny Fuller of Luca Mariano Americana band, old Americana band.
Americana.
But also Kenny has been playing in an opening for a lot of big time acts, and we were talking about it, but he got to play in front of 50,000 people at Virginia Beach. So Kenny, if you remember, Randy, tonight we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. I'm Tiny, this is Roxy, and we have El Presidente, Randy Prasse. And if you remember when we did that podcast last year, when Kenny was down there, he basically pulled his guitar out and said, "Hey, let's do a theme song."
Mhm.
So I was like, okay. So he came up with that. I asked him for a little bit of, John Mellencamp and whatever. And it's like, once again, except when you're on El Presidente, it's always better than the podcast itself.
You're too kind.
So let's just get right into it. You're here tonight. We are 2 weeks out. This time, I believe in 2 weeks will be Bourbon in the Air. And that's pretty exciting. I mean, we're just getting ramped up right now.
We're prepping our livers.
2 weeks from right now, Bourbon in the Air will be done, and we will be out in Bardstown carousing.
So what time is Bourbon in the Air?
6 to 8.
6 to 8.
Oh,
Okay. So 6 to 8. So we will be done. Well, that's
Ish.
good.
8-ish.
Yeah.
It's our private party. There's 600 people max. So
Okay.
if we decide to stay after 8, we can.
Okay. That's all that got tickets to Bourbon in the Air. And that sold out pretty quick, right?
Well, and it's sponsors and the distillery executives and all of the Flask Force VIP people got a ticket. So, I mean, over half of the tickets were gone just with insiders. And then we sold the other, 200 or whatever.
That is an event, honestly, after last year that
Um,
if you in the future, please don't miss it. I mean, it's something special, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it was everyone's favorite. It was my favorite. The whole idea was, when my first day on the job, I got out of my car and I could smell Barton, in the air, bourbon in the air, literally. And you can smell it all throughout Bardstown. And that was my inspiration. And then from previous versions of the Bourbon Festival, we had the All-Star Sampler, and that was indoors in a kind of a nondescript, no offense to anyone, but a very nondescript space. And now here we are outside with two like amazing mature park-like settings with all the tents and the distilleries. And it seemed to make sense. And last year, if we could bottle that magic, which we're trying to do this year, and repeat it, that's exactly what we're doing.
Well, you got to get Barton's to do a cook on Thursday night between 6 and 8, because that smell I remember like the first day on Friday and getting out there, or it started at noon and we were getting out, and while we were setting up, that morning you could just smell. It just smells. So there's no other place that smells like that, right?
No, and I always think of this, Jeffrey, and you being from Wisconsin too, you know what the paper mills smell like in Wausau, not good. I lived and worked 10 minutes from Miller Brewing, and there's this distinct smell when Miller it's not a good smell. And here we are, you get that sweet bourbon smell in Bardstown. There's nothing, it's the smell of money, but it smells so much better than everyone else's smell of money.
Well, it's just a defense. If you go when the Miller is actually not when they're making the the beer, the first part, I agree.
Right.
But there is a point in Milwaukee where it does smell good, where you get that yeasty smell.
That hop.
But like you said, there's about 2/3 of the other part that's not smelling good.
Yeah. And a hot August day driving by Miller Brewing is not a good thing. And I lived in Racine, the home of Frank's Sauerkraut and Franksville. There is even a worse smell of money, which is the smell of rotten cabbage in the fields that welcomes visitors to Racine. So as much as I love Racine and that whole east coast of Wisconsin, Bardstown has got the best of the smell of monies in my vote.
That cabbage smell is that's kids. I mean, I remember that cabbage smell driving in Kenosha, driving to my grandpa and grandma. It was a certain time of the year. It just was like, all right.
Right about
Rotten cabbage.
Yep.
And then we have bourbon. So let's talk bourbon in Bardstown.
Yep.
You know, our tagline is whiskey only in Bardstown, and that is absolutely what we're doing.
Yeah, it's excellent. Just going to, where did that come from? Going to the 50, you have like is it 49 distilleries right now, or is it
48, I think, at last count. And there was 49, but 2 of them kind of got bought out and blended, and it's complicated.
Yeah, it happens. And then but you're gonna, not only that, but you know, one of the cool things about the festival, not only do you have all the people in the distillers and all the executives running around the festival all weekend, kind of doing up on stage and doing things, but there's a lot of people that from the outside of Kentucky that come down that have Kentucky roots and stuff like that. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, and this is the first year that we've been able to document where every single ticket buyer is coming from. And we have been, from day one in May 11th, I think, when tickets went on sale, consistent all the way through today. 75% of the people that are coming to the festival that bought tickets are from outside of Kentucky, which means 25% are in Kentucky, and it Bardstown, and it's Claremont, and it's Cox's Creek, and you know, it is a lot of locals. So contrary to what was going on last year, the reality is a lot of people locally got tickets. And then you get into Frankfort and Louisville and Lexington and Paducah and Bowling Green, and you know, out in the outskirts. But 75% of the people come to this event are from outside of Kentucky, including Alaska and Hawaii and UK and Canada and Japan. You know, travel is starting to slowly come back. I don't think this is the year for international travel yet, but next year it will be. But yeah, I mean, we have people, and it's Georgia, and it's Florida, and it's Texas, it's Wisconsin. You know, of course, Iowa is a little weak on the ticket sales. We don't expect much from Iowa, but Ohio, Indiana, Missouri, you know, the touching states are all killing it. Illinois is killing it. So if there's anybody in Iowa, I challenge you to kind of get out there and get the Iowa people, you know,
I mean,
fire up Iowa.
wake up to bourbon. Yes, it's not all about the butter cow at the Iowa State Fair. You know, there's other things.
They do grow a lot of corn in Iowa, so you'd think that they want to, but you know,
Yep.
Whatever. So
Yep, exactly.
So okay, just real quick, the barrel pick program with Justin's House of Bourbon. Go over that and kind of, you know, it was so exciting this year, and it was so much expand, and then go over with how it's going to be set up during I think most people want to know, comparatively, that are going, what they got to do to be able to get these awesome bottles that you guys picked.
Oh, and thank you. It's crazy. Now keep in mind, and you all know, and Jeffrey, you and Roxy know, sorry, Tiny, that I was relatively new to the whole whiskey world. I'm a craft beer guy and a lot of other things going on. So in 2020, when I started, Steve Coombs and I were talking, and I said, what is this barrel pick thing? I mean, should we be doing that? Would people buy those bottles? And I asked that question, and we got 10 of them last year. So we went from 29 years of 0 barrel picks to last year being our 30th year, we had 10. This year, our second year of the barrel picks, we've got 20. And it is, I mean, it's a good balance of your Knob Creek and Elijah Craig and Maker's Mark, Wild Turkey. I mean, literally Eddie and Jimmy went into their own little family stash and picked a barrel to bottle for us, to a lot of crafts. I mean, we've got, you know, New Riff coming on board. We did one with Barrel Craft Spirits, and, you know, Greg Snyder's usually on here, you know, and Greg, you know, shout out, the first barrel pick of chicken cock in their history back to 1856, very first time ever, was ours. So, and I think he mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. So you will actually be able to come to the Bourbon Festival and have access to all 20 of those single barrel selections. They're sold exclusively at the festival. Last year, they sold some at the Justin's House of Bourbons, and then the balance was sold out at the festival. This year, they're going all in. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they have a bottle shop that is going to be operational the entire time. And if there happens to be anything left over, which I don't think will be, they will sell them at their stores. But
So
a couple thousand bottles. I mean, if you think about the yield, 150 maybe per barrel, and we've got 20 of them. Think about that.
right, but
Wow.
now, as the days go by, you're gonna only have a certain, I mean, obviously, are you gonna have a certain amount allotted where, so that you can keep that stock throughout the festival? I mean, when,
I
if
believe
one
so.
day, because
Yeah.
I know how people are with that,
Yep.
and it seems like a lot. But there are people who are going to be buying either multiple bottles, or they're going to be buying the full set and that type of thing.
Right.
Now, and because that's the kind of people that come to the festival. These are the serious enthusiasts and the people who love it. And then I like at first when you were talking about that Sunday single pass ticket that you have. That's really kind of nice, because that brings in an enthusiast that might have not been able to have the whole weekend, but you give them a shot at that one day. And I think those tickets sold 100% based off of being able to then get there and purchase. And the fact that you're spacing it out, you should have, a lot of, but then talk about.
Can I talk now?
Yeah.
No, but you're absolutely right. It was supposed to be always a 3-day ticket, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I know how consumers are. I know how I was. I mean, and Kate and I would go to a 4-hour craft beer festival for $80, but we wouldn't go to a 3-day beer festival. So at the last minute, we added that Sunday sampler. So last year, Friday and Saturday were the big days, and Sunday was kind of a light version. Justin sold Friday and Saturday. Our single barrels were sold by the end of the day Saturday. There was no bottle sales. There was nothing educational on the stages. There were no musical acts playing on Sunday. It really was kind of a stripped down version. This year, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're all programmed the same way. There's educational classes, there's music, and Justin's will have the bottle shop. So back to your original point, I believe, I don't know what the percentages are, if it's 30-30 and then whatever, or if it's gonna be 40-40-20, well, they'll hold back some sales for Sunday. But there are people that are absolutely buying Sunday sampler tickets, coming in for the day. It's gonna be a killer day, but they're coming from around the area. They're day trippers. They're not committed to hotels. They just want to try it out. But a lot of people have emailed me on the side, said, hey, we've got that sampler. If we love it, we'll be back next year and buy all 3 days. So I think it's a pretty important entry point for people who are interested, but they're not that diehard enthusiasts that are out there doing the tours, or they're just people that live here locally, and they have every weekend or every day of the week they can go and do a distillery tour, but they really want to kind of check 48 distilleries with 125 or 130 different whiskeys to sample. So it's kind of good that way.
Yeah. Aaron Conkle, who is coming, and he's a Scotchy Bourbon boy, he's coming down there with us. He wants to know, are they sending the wristbands by mail for the Flask Force, or do you pick them up there? So that was a good question.
So Aaron, thank you. And anybody listening, we actually have wristband is our box office. So it's kind of our ticket master, all the wristbands. And I showed you, Jeffrey, here's the wristbands, and the Flask Force is right there. So you will be getting, Aaron, you'll be getting those in a envelope that looks like this. You'll open it up. It'll be in a black padded envelope. You open it up, and in that little pocket will be your wristbands. And yes, this is a small proof that I printed out and cut out and taped together just for the show.
Just so you can show it.
Yeah. But no, so the wristbands and all the little envelopes should be going out yesterday, today, tomorrow. Obviously, holiday weekend. We promised everybody that like the Tuesday, Wednesday after Labor Day, you'd have them. And there's a number on the back that when you get your folder, there's instructions on how to activate them. So you have to go online and activate them. But when you have them on your arm and you show up at the festival, boom, you'll scan it and you'll get right in.
Awesome.
Awesome. And then there's instructions on how to load some of your events on there too, right? If you've received and that, okay. So that's one
Yeah, and
thing.
it's a little cumbersome. In all, you know, transparency, we expected that this partnership was going to be, you buy your 3-day taster ticket and you start buying the premium, that the box office people would have it all loaded on your wristband and you walk in and activate it once and you've got it all. I think there's a little bit more user upfront that you have to go in and make sure you've got your, if you bought other dinner. So I apologize in advance. That's something we're working on improving going forward, but there is a little bit of that extra couple clicks that you have to go to make sure. But you can also enter your credit card and you can walk up to our bar and, you know, buy drinks and stuff. We're testing it this year, hopefully to roll it out bigger, you know, next year.
Awesome.
Okay. That's amazing. Now, talk just a little bit more about, I had a question. So Justin's House of Bourbon is going to be there and they're going to have this awesome bottle shop selling all the barrel picks. And then all the distilleries, right, that are Kentucky distilleries, they're allowed to sell bottles right from there because of the change of the law just recently there in Kentucky to allow Kentucky distilleries, you know, the main distilleries, to be able to sell bottles. So they're going to be selling from there. Now, are there going to be special bottles from the distilleries that are just for Kentucky Bourbon Festival where they're going to have special releases, or don't you know yet what all the distilleries are doing?
We don't know. And back to your point, March 29th is when Governor Beshear signed into law what was originally House Bill 500. So that allows distilleries with DSPs, and there's a lot of criteria that has to go into being a DSP. The principal owner has to be in Kentucky, and they have to be producing actually in Kentucky. They all have the opportunity for the first time ever and the first time anywhere in the world to sell bottles from the festival. So you could walk up to the James B. Beam Distilling Company and buy 5 or 6 different SKUs. And I'm sure they'll be selling the, you know, their Legent, they'll be, you know, getting into Basil Hayden's, that kind of thing. You walk over to your Maker's Mark and they could be selling their things. You could walk down to Bardstown Bourbon Company, they'll be selling the things. You go to Heaven Hill. As long as you have a DSP, you're able to sell.
I mean, James E. Pepper, I know all the DSPs. I mean, the Kentucky bourbon distilling industry is so proud of the DSP. You know, they're proud of that. It's just like the number that it is. I think there's like, what is it, 230 or whatever. I mean, there's a huge amount now, but you know, the ones that have the original ones and everything, and that is a you know, it's something to be proud of. Now is Justin's House of Bourbon as the agency there, are they allowed to sell other bottles than what they're selling, or no? Okay.
No, so the way it works is, and this is getting way into the legal weeds, but when you come to the Bourbon Festival to buy the single barrel, like the one we were joking about earlier, these technically are mine. I own them. The Bourbon Festival buys them. So every single bottle that Justin sells is Kentucky Bourbon Festival owns it.
Okay.
And so it goes to our point of sale, it goes to our bank, and then at the end of the whole thing, we settle up with Justin's, and Justin's is just there kind of as volunteers to run the operation. But they will not. Now, I should clarify, because we want to set expectations. When you come into the festival, not all 48 distilleries in their booths are going to be selling. Some are not. As I mentioned, the non-distilling producers, the NDPs, are not able to sell at the festival. They can sample, which last year, being year 30, was the first year we could even do that. So as much as it might be disappointing for the distillery and for the customer to come in on the second year of the new model, 2 years ago, nobody was able to do any of this stuff. So the fact that you can come to the Bourbon Festival and even sample is a step up. So if you can't sell, if you're an NDP distiller and you can't sell, you can absolutely tell people where to buy your product. Yeah, I'm encouraging them to have QR codes, like, oh, I like that, boom, click it, and here's the website, and tells where you can buy it. But there are a number of the DSP distilleries that will be selling it's exciting for them, but not everyone will be. I know for a fact Four Roses will not be selling this year.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what the reason is. They're coming in, they're going to do sampling. It's going to be amazing like they did last year, but they just chose not to sell. So I don't want people thinking that they're going to walk in and have this 135 different SKUs, that they're going to be able to buy. A lot
Right.
will, and some won't.
So what about, okay, this is a question from me that I just thought of. Are they allowed to sell at Bourbon in the Air?
This year, no.
Okay, that's all I wanted.
This year is sampling only, and it's not because any legal reasons. I mean, we've got our permit for all days, but Bourbon in the Air, if you recall, you were there. It's supposed to be kind of a soft opener, not just for the customers, but also for the distilleries to kind of come in and get their legs underneath them and get a vibe, so they can kind of sync up.
I don't know, when you're drinking, last year we were drinking the Four Roses limited edition 2021, which was a fantastic release by Four Roses, poured by Brent Elliott. I mean, that's something that you just don't forget. You know what I mean? That's the kind of experiences that you bring out, and that Bourbon in the Air. I think Steve Nally, who just has been all over it this year. I mean, he's been on every single channel on the internet and on Netflix and whatever. And he basically was pouring his, Bardstown Bourbon Company's, main thing. I mean, when you get that, that's something that's special.
And that is a great point that we were really promoting last year because of being the first year of the new format. But you remind me that we've got all of these master distillers and brand ambassadors and whiskey makers. You get into, Andrea and Dan from Michter's, and you get into Cave with Rabbit Hole and Greg with Chicken Cock. I mean, they're all going to be there signing. Brent Elliott. I mean, it's like you have a backstage pass at the Grammys with, with all the rock bands.
Yeah. But it's like a backstage pass at history, because these people, that it's an industry, but it's an industry so well documented, and it's like everything that happens with it. So we love that. So,
and they're all so gracious. I mean, Danny Kahn, from Barton 1792. I was a fan of Danny's when he was with Sierra Nevada as their head brewmaster, and he leaves and comes here and does the 1792, which is among my favorite. And it's just cool because he's walking around looking for someone to talk to. I mean, it is awesome. And of course, Fred and Freddie, you just, and then there's a lot of the up and comers that maybe you haven't heard of, but you should know, right? I mean, there's a lot of those guys that are like the evil geniuses sitting in their little laboratories, and 5-10 years from now, they're going to be the Connor, the Brent, the Denny, the Fred and Freddie. They're out there.
I mean, just like you said, 1792 no longer gives tours, but you're going to have access to them at the festival. It's the closest that you get to that, to meeting the master distiller. And but also the same thing, I'm looking forward to Aaron Harris, who was at Watershed for a while. He is now the master distiller at Green River. So I'm looking forward to seeing old friends, people that have gone, we're 2 hours away, who are now 6 hours away. I look forward to meeting, but it's also from our podcast standpoint, it's just like pure gold. I mean, it's like finding pot of gold at under the rainbow. You make all these relationships, you get to know the people, have them on the podcast when you're there, but then that sends you out into the world with a lot of ammunition to keep going. So it's just such a wonderful event.
And with you, they either like invite you to stay at their home, or they have like a restraining order against you. No, but I mean, it is such a cool, tight knit community, and the media row is going to be next to Justin's House of Bourbon this year. So we are working really hard to make sure all the master distillers are rotating through and signing and meet and greets, which means that we feed them right into your area to sit down and hopefully talk to them. And
so
last year was the first year we did the media row, and you might have been the only group that took us up on the whole weekend, and now we've got 9, and they're planning on being there all weekend.
Yeah,
and
they
it's-
were all
it's
just a little
pretty
bit jealous that,
Well, we're excited. There were some podcasts that came down for a couple days and we're checking it out. But what you
they
put
didn't-
on
they
last
didn't
year,
camp out,
it
yeah.
wasn't even something that I'm so glad. I mean, just knowing you and knowing how you do things, it's just like what because I get to, now that this is getting a little bit bigger, I get to do some of your job in planning and putting things together. And it's a lot of hard work. Like you said, you just, Fred Minnick goes out there and he does all these podcasts and everything, but people don't realize what kind of work editing is and all that. They just think, you do this and you drink. It's not that way. You're trying to up your brand all the time. And what you've done, Kentucky Bourbon Festival, in 3 short years, the brand is upped. You know what I mean? And then, like you said, look at where you're pulling people from everywhere. And that's what it's all about.
And the cool thing, and there's never a silver lining in a pandemic. Okay, so I can be clear on that. However, the 2020 year that we canceled the live event and did the virtual with Steve Coombs, we had all 20 of the major master distillers right here. They weren't traveling, they were grounded. And we did the virtual event that's on our YouTube channel. And numerous things happened after that. One, we got a lot of master distillers going back into their home distilleries and talking about how well they were treated and how high quality the production was. So that was cool. The second part was we got into audience building. So we turned on people from all over the country, maybe the world, to the concept of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. Even though it was 29 years old at the time, there were people who lived 20 minutes away that never heard of it, or if they heard of it, they've never been. And so that YouTube channel and our social media opened people up to this. So now, again, all 50 states, Canada and Japan and the UK, they're all coming. And that's just the beginning. I mean, there are people that are just like, hey, we've never been. What are we expecting? What's going to happen? And you saw last year was the first year of the new vision, and there were a lot of warts. There were a lot of things that didn't go well. And I've spent every day since last year, and believe me, every day improving the functions, the operations, the experience, how you get into the event, what you experience when you're there, what you visually see to help navigate people around. And we're cutting people loose at 6 o'clock at night. Instead of trying to be 10 to 10, we're noon to 6, but you're condensing all of that programming into a tighter, but we want to turn people out and get them into the distilleries and get them out on the town, get them into the restaurants and the bars. And so I'm really excited to kind of follow up last year with what we have planned this year.
I think, like, just the example, you have that 4 to 6:30 on Friday night, Jim Beam on-site dinner going on with Fred and Freddie and everybody. But then on Saturday night, it comes across in your email, they're having their own event at the kitchen table, which is their supper club. And they're going to do, and that gives the distillery a chance to shine also, not just the people at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, like you said. And they're doing that. And as a festival goer, you're getting all the emails and you're getting everything about what you can do past there. On Saturday night, we're going to actually throw an event at our where we're staying and bring in Scotchy Bourbon Boy people. But if you're a member of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, you might have to stop by.
No, but you're absolutely right. So this year, Bourbon in the Air Thursday night. So Friday, we kick it off with Bardstown Bourbon Company. And we follow it up with Beam. The next morning we come back, or afternoon, we come back with Old Forester. Chris Morris is going to be there talking about the 1870, 1897, 1910, 1920. And then we wrap it up with Rabbit Hole doing a happy hour. And then when you just think it's done, you come back Sunday and Michter's is doing the Sunday brunch. And every one of those, they're bringing out their best stuff. And it's just so cool. And then when we close at 6, you got Bardstown Bourbon Company, Lux Row, Maker's Mark, Preservation, Dant Crossing, Log Still, Jim Beam, all doing events outside of the run of the festival. But that's why we're doing what we're doing. We're bringing people in from all over the country, giving them the 6-hour immersive experience, and then turning them loose on the town. And every one of those distilleries that we've mentioned, as you know, have spent millions on the visitor experience. Their tours, their guest centers, their restaurants, their bars and tasting rooms, their whole campuses. So it would be unwise of us to have all of this partnership money and investment in the festival improvement only to try to monopolize them all and not, share. And my inspiration for that, years ago, I went out to Denver, Colorado on Labor Day weekend for the Taste of Colorado. And I saw this festival breathe people in, entertain them in the afternoon. The main stage would actually shut off and the roof would come down, and people would go out on the town and do all these experiences and come back at 6 o'clock at night and then have your evening party. So I've seen how an industry and a town and a festival can breathe people in and breathe people out and then bring them back. So we're kind of testing that a little bit this year with the Bourbon Festival. Bring people in, give them an experience they can't get anywhere else, and then breathe them back out to have that authentic Bardstown, Kentucky feeling.
Greg asked me if I have a spare room for Saturday night. We probably could work something out for Greg Schneider. There's no doubt about it. And then Aaron, who was asked a question before, he just talked about how amazingly friendly the distilleries and the distillers are when you're there. It's just kind of like an experience that you guys can offer that nobody else is offering. There's other festivals out there, but I think when you're talking about whiskey and bourbon, this is the one. And
I mean, look at Greg Schneider. Look at his resume, look at all he's accomplished, and the guy will absolutely stand there and talk to people and laugh and tell stories. And he's got the stories, trust me. I've heard a number of them, but he'll stand there and, sign a bottle, and it is absolutely the most gracious group of people I've ever experienced in any industry.
Yeah, and just like you said, you deal with Luca Mariano people. You deal with one of our sponsors is Log Still, which they're doing their first ever on that I think it's Friday night was the train ride. They're
Right.
gonna put the people on the train, bring them into the station, feed them dinner, and take them back out. I mean, that's an experience like no other place, as far as
up until that point, the governor is really the only person that's ever had that experience when they came in for like the ribbon cutting and the big announcement. And it is absolutely a cool experience. And if you think back 10 years, there was no real visitor experience. And now you've got the Wally and his family doing what they're doing. You've got Bardstown Bourbon Company doing that experience. You've got Jeff Crow at Heaven Hill and that experience. You got Jim Beam and the Kitchen Table and what they're doing. You go out to Maker's Mark. It's a slice of heaven on earth. You look at what Four Roses, I mean, it goes on and on and on. Buffalo Trace, those experiences, it's just amazing what you can do.
What's really crazy is you had Heaven Hill with their visitor center. You had Buffalo Trace all doing these amazing experiences. Jim Beam had a huge, and they're in the process of the second round of upping that experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just, it's like they're, what was it? $1.2 billion expansion for Buffalo Trace. That's just, it's insane. But okay.
And the money they spend on the production side of things, the bottling and the warehouse space, production facilities is boggling to the mind. But then when you look at how they're matching that with the visitor experience, and I mean, Jeffrey, you grew up watching the Packers. When you and I would go to Lambeau Field in the 80s, it was a big green shed. That's it.
That's
you had
it.
a Kmart and a Shopko, and now you go, it's the atrium and it's the brick and it's city blocks of experiential. That's what's going on with these distilleries now.
Well, let's just hit home with you. As a kid, I went to the Wisconsin State Fair. I mean, I grew up there. I went there when I was 8, 10, 12. Then, when the Packers were good in the 90s, I was in my 30s. I took my kids there. But then to go this year, and you were a part of that, it's now solid. It's not collapsible stuff anymore. I mean, almost every single booth is a permanent booth, and that's kind of like what I see. How you're, how to evolve a festival, and at one point, I think someday we'll get to, you get to that point. I know where you're having it now. You wouldn't, but But
I'm proud of that. And when I started, and I grew up going to the state fair, I actually took my cattle as a 4-H kid, the state fair in Wisconsin. But everything was tents, and the bleachers were the high school bleachers, and you fast forward, and I got rid of a lot of those tents and permanent installations, capital improvements that maybe some of them only get used for those 10, 12 days a year, but some use them all year round for the car races and stuff, and the Milwaukee Mile racetrack and the investment, multi-millions in that. Now, I don't know that Bardstown and the Bourbon Festival is ever going to get to permanent structures.
Right.
Part of the coolness of this event is that it's a couple of blocks from downtown. It's on a historic 220-year-old, property, and if you go there today, you can't tell it's coming, and boom, it blows up and then it goes away and it returns back to kind of a community park vibe. And I like that. I mean, if you went last year, or if you haven't gone and you're coming this year, I mean, I'm not afraid to tell you this. We've got probably $60,000 just in tents. Just in tent rentals.
Well, I remember how much space you had, and you had to deal with the rain and everything, and you dealt with it unbelievably. But that space, there was a lot of, and this year I was looking at the layout, and you've got it like filled.
Oh,
it's just like there's no walking across,
Yeah, there
20 yards to the next place.
Gaps of where there was emptiness, and
But that wasn't bad.
I mean, we're all adults here, right?
Right.
I mean, there are some tents that you'll see that are going to be, the sides will be smeared with Vaseline, and they'll be stuck in between the trees.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's going to be close quarters, but I think geez.
Well, it's dense. It's densely programmed, which is what I want. A lot of room to breathe and move people through, but this density that you wouldn't expect to see in Bardstown, and that you walk that balance. I got to get people in and move them through, but I got to make sure everybody has this whoa, epiphany of how cool it's going to be when they hit it.
Yeah, I mean, I know how many people you're going to have there, but when you're talking about 48 distilleries giving out samples, is there even going to be a line? It's just
I hope not. And that's the cool
there's
thing,
not.
though. I mean, think about it. Anybody who's never been to the festival maybe not appreciate this. People that were there last year would appreciate it, and people that have been there for years before would definitely appreciate this. Last year was the first year that we did sampling. You could walk up to any distillery and get a sample, but you had to pay for a ticket and blah, blah, blah. This year, the 3-day tickets include all your sampling. So for $42 a day, I think is how, $41.50, whatever, per day for 3 days, you get unlimited sampling from 48 different distilleries. And it's included. You don't have to go stand in another line. You just walk up with your glass. And we did something fun this year too with the glasses. So when you walk in the main gate, and if any of you were there last year, you remember the big rick house that was the entrance into the great tent? Well, now that is now our main gate. That structure is built on the street. When you come in and you walk in, you get your glasses. And last year, every glass looked the same. They all said the Bourbon Festival. This year, the glasses all have the Bourbon Festival logo on the front, let's say. And on the back side will be a variety of the top 10 or 11 main distilleries. So you randomly might get a Beam, you might get a Makers, you might get a Bardstown Bourbon Company, you might get a Heaven Hill, you might get and Rabbit Hole. And it's gonna be kind of that fun. Hopefully people will get in and want to kind of trade, like trading cards. Like, I'll trade you my Maker's Mark for your Jim Beam or whatever. And but it's gonna be a whole cool experience from the time you get there until the time you leave.
Awesome.
That's awesome. We look forward to it. And I know we talked about it, kept you a little bit longer than we wanted to.
I'll
but
say, is my 20 minutes done yet?
Yeah, exactly. We're still under 45 on the actual thing. So what I'll do,
I think Double O Kate said earlier, I said I got 20 minutes, and she said, okay, so that means like 30 or 40. She knows me.
So we did 45.
So Greg congratulates us of having you on tonight. He said he and David Mandel envisioned a totally new concept for the Kentucky Bourbon Festival and made it become fantastic reality. And I mean, yeah, there's no doubt about it. Last year, I think Greg was impressed. He was down there. Greg's a good friend of us. Bill says he can't wait. Kate said it was 45 minutes. There it
There's
is.
your chicken pack.
Yeah, we're definitely, we're a fan.
It's not our single barrel.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not our barrel pick, but
Good job, Greg. It's
the
good.
barrel pick is-
All right, Saturday
September
night.
29th, Greg's coming up and doing our Scotchy Bourbon Boy meeting. And then he's heading up to Put-in Bay, up in that area, the Catawba.
Yep.
He's doing, I believe, I forget what the restaurant, but they're doing an event there. We're going to go there. And then I have to get home from that event 2 hours away and leave at 5 o'clock in the morning to get down to Bourbon on the Banks the next morning. So I got 3 nights of just awesome.
Are you staying here one of those nights, or what are you doing?
Oh, Bourbon on the Banks will be Saturday night. I'll be down there. I can't go back.
I'll be there.
Okay.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of
you
people
got
think I've got a good job, but man, Mr. Snyder, he's got the gig. He's all over the place.
Yeah, he knows what, and to watch him do, I think he's doing 4 different liquor stores, and then he's going to do our meeting. I'm hoping to get him into the man cave for a couple pours, do that, and then we'll head over, do that. They're spending the night, and then they're driving the 2 hours up. I got to work, but I'll just right after work head right up there, and should be a good time. So
when I grow up, I want to be like Greg Snyder.
who doesn't? The man's man, right? I mean, that guy.
Absolutely.
Yes, he definitely knows how to live life right. We love you, Greg.
We love you. We love you, Greg. You're a fellow Scotchy bourbon boy, so we love you.
Yeah, Xavier, thanks you for your time too. And so with that, let's just I wasn't quite ready, but I'm almost ready because let's see, I just got to.
And as soon as the camera goes off, I take this nice fancy polo shirt off and I go back into festival mode for the next 2 hours. So
there you go. So everybody, remember, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, www.scotchybourbonboys. We're also on all social media. We are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We are also on YouTube, and let's see, that was 5. And then make sure you listen to us on all major podcast formats. Alexis will listen to the Scott. You can ask Alexa, you can ask Siri to listen to the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and they will, and then also Spotify. But thank you again, El Presidente. You know how much we love you. It's just
Yep, looking forward to seeing you.
yeah, it's close, and just hopefully everything is everything that you've envisioned gives you a little bit more time this year during the festival. All right,
let's hope. One can hope. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
See y'all.
So here we go.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die.
All right, we're off there. I'm going to stop recording.
Drinking bourbon, sipping on some scotch. We get a little wild, but it's sure fun to watch. We love what we do, we're drinking every brew. Man, we talk some shit, but we're telling the truth. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys.